Well, I got to work on building a door to go into this door frame we've got. I think that's going to be today's project. I may not get to finish it today for the simple reason that I spent several hours already today working on a video that I just finished uploading from a really cool outing we did over to Custer State Park in South Dakota, and a fun gear review at the same time for a Starlink mini mount. So for those of you who are considering or using Starlink and you're looking for a better way to mount it on your vehicle while you're traveling, you might want to check out the Veritas Vans Starlink mini mount. Really fantastic. I'm very happy with it. Link in the video description if you want to check that out below, or you can see it in the whole review in that video. Right now I got to work on the door. I may not get it finished today because it's already mid-afternoon, and because they're talking about maybe some thunderstorms this afternoon, I think I'm going to set up inside, do some of the work and preparation, building the door inside, just in case we do get those storms. Just getting set up here in the box truck so I can work on building that door. Yesterday was Easter Sunday. We had a big family get together here at my son's house, and apparently the girls, some of the granddaughters, found their ways out into the box truck to check it out and explore. I see they're leaving me notes here or some kind of a journal. I'm not sure if it's expressly for me or if they just forgot it, but I got notes in granddaughter's handwriting anyways. So I'm going to start working on this. I got a table I brought in and set up. This is the one we've been using outside, but I've got it inside for today. It's kind of cool and breezy out there. And like I said, maybe some thunderstorms this afternoon, so we'll try and work inside since we got the room to do that. There's been a lot of great comments and questions coming in on the box truck build and the box truck in general. So I'm going to do another update video very soon, probably this week, where I'll go over all those things. I don't want to do it in this video because I want to get working on the door, but we will go over those things. And I wanted to note too, for all of you who leave comments, send emails, all that sort of stuff, we do read every comment and every email that comes in. I try to answer as many as I can, but truthfully, I just can't get to all of them because there's so many, which is a really good problem. So we appreciate the engagement. We appreciate how y'all are invested in and interested in this project. But we do read everything, and when I see the similar comments popping up a few times, or comments that are just, or questions that are just too complicated or a little too detailed to answer in the comments section or by email, we'll queue them up for an upcoming video like this one I'll do this week, and we'll kind of go over it in a video. Everybody can benefit from the answer then, or from the reply then, and hopefully I can explain it better and by actually showing you stuff too. Right now I'm going to dive in and get working on this door. And real quick before I do, I don't know if everybody's seen some previous videos where I may have talked about it, but in theory, the simplest thing to do is to buy a door and hang it there. The catch is with working with unique things like this with a box truck, doing a custom build, normal residential exterior doors these days are 32 or 36 inches usually. And that's the actual door size, not the rough opening. Your rough opening is a little bigger. We didn't really want to go that big. We're at like 29 right now before I closed in a little. So this would be right around 28 inches, 27.5 inches right now, which is pretty comfortable size for us to go in and out. I was able to bring the table in, no problem without having to finagle just a minute ago. The door on our travel trailer, the RV door, is like 22.5, which is just obnoxious. It's hard to do anything with that. It's hard to get anything in and out. That's one thing. We want a bigger door than that, but we don't necessarily need 32 or 36 because the bigger the door, we got an 8-foot wall here. So if we lose 3 feet or a little better than 3 feet to a door, that's almost half our wall. And we want the wall space to use for things. So it affects the builds. You gotta have to balance everything out. So we're going with a 27, 28 inch door because that's a good balance for us. So it's hard to find a door that width. And then the other problem is we're right at 6 foot in height because this is only a little over 6 feet. If you go all the way up, I think I measured about 80 inches to the, I can't remember, it was the fiberglass or to this lip here. But by the time we get framed it in and we're working under the metal frame, I can show you here, under this here, this is only just over 6 feet. And so by the time we have some wood framing to close the door, we're like right at 6 feet. So I'm like 5'11", so I can get through there still. But most modern exterior doors are 80 inches. In theory, you can cut them down to make them fit, but the way they're designing them these days, I'm not confident that's gonna work. And I did find a few older ones, vintage style, because in the old days, houses had smaller doors. And like everything else, right? We've gone to the McMansion craze. Well, doors were smaller too, oftentimes anyways. And so I found like 28-inch exterior doors that could be cut down in height. The catch is they're rare these days, and I found them in like places like Nebraska and Colorado, and I didn't want to drive that far just to get a door. So because I'm not thinking I can probably find something, I have looked and so far I've not found anything. I'm confident I can cut down and make fit in that hole that we need to work with. I'm just going to build my own. So that's today's project, is to work on building a door for here. And I may not get it done today. I may go into tomorrow, very likely, but we're going to go ahead and get started. I thought we might have to use 2x3s or something for this project, because I didn't think I'd find 2x2s that were adequate. But we actually found a couple that look pretty good. So it took 2 different stores to do it, but we found some. So let's see, I gotta find a clamp, hang on. They're around somewhere. We have a mess with our tools right now, because they're all over the place, but I just gotta remember where stuff's hidden. There we go. There's one. Nice DeWalt clamp. Snagged this for $5 down at Quartzsite a couple of years ago. And it's been served well ever since. So I'm gonna clamp these together to make sure I got them exactly the same size. That's the idea here. And they don't walk on me, because this is just one of those places where you really want to be precise. In an ideal world, I'd probably be doing this with a compound miter saw, all these cuts, but I could buy one, but we don't have room to store it. And I had someone mention recently too, we should get a 1/4-inch impact driver, and I completely agree. I need to do that. I want to get one in Ryobi that matches the rest of our tools. I had a DeWalt last year that worked really well until it didn't. We got it at a thrift store for really cheap, and it came with a charger and 2 batteries, and both the batteries were a little iffy, and they worked for a few cycles and then they just quit working. So they died, so I need to get another one. I gave that one to my son because he has some other DeWalt tools anyways, but so he had batteries to go with it. But I need to get a Ryobi cordless to go with these, because that will be easier for this project. Okay, that's pretty nice, I think. So these are going to serve as the 2 sides of the door, like so. And then we're going to fill them in. We're going to have at least a break cross piece on the top and the bottom. I can sort of illustrate, although I'm sure it's not the right size, but just to demonstrate here so you know where we're going with this, we'll have a cross piece on the top and a cross piece on the bottom, and at least one in the middle, maybe more than one. And then we're going to fill wherever there's a void, there's not 2x2s, we're going to fill it with foam insulation so that it's a well insulated door for energy efficiency. And we're going to use, at least on the outside, we're going to use plywood, and I'm not sure what we're using on the inside, but some kind of material on the inside, very possibly plywood. And then we'll weather strip it all and everything. And it's just easier if you can find a pre-hung exterior door and put it in, but we couldn't do that. I didn't want to go the RV door route. They're all curved and wonky, and I didn't want to deal with it, and they're expensive. So this is going to work well. We have a plan for making it all look good and everything, but we'll get to that a little bit later on. now I need 2 more of them. Alright, ouch. Ow, got a splinter. Right in the web of my thumb. It's in there somewhere. I can't really see it very good. Melanie will probably be picking it out of me later. Hopefully she doesn't turn the camera on again, because I'll be crying like a baby when she's doing it. But what are you laughing at? You know it's true. I'm a big baby when I think nobody's looking. All right, so looking at the sky outside and the feel of the weather is probably a good thing we decided to come inside and work on this. I got this laid out. I squared it off real good to make sure everything's nice and tidy. And I've clamped it to the board because I don't have a bar clamp big enough to clamp the whole thing, which would actually be really nice right here. So I'm going to pilot some screw holes, and then we're going to screw it in from the sides. And then I have some brackets, fairly large brackets, we're going to put in the L's here to help provide some additional support to hopefully make sure everything stays in place. And this might be a good time too to note that I am not a finished carpenter or a professional carpenter. I'm a handyman and a maintenance guy and a home inspector, so I know what to look for. But I've done a lot of stuff. But if you're looking for very specific details on how to build a door, you might want to look up somebody on YouTube that really knows how to build a door. I think this is going to work. People have been building doors for thousands of years. It's not that complicated. You just got to take your time, make sure you get it, everything nice and square so it fits in your hole. Otherwise, it's kind of cattywampus, and that's not going to work well. So we do these videos on builds and stuff. We're generally trying to provide some entertainment and also some inspiration that without too many crazy tools and too many crazy skills, you can actually do a lot by yourself. But we also provide some information, good information, and I try to provide accurate information whenever I can, but I also try to tell you when don't necessarily copy what I'm doing here. This is specific to our situation, and if this door doesn't work, we'll fix it. But I can't make any guarantees that if you copy this exactly, your door is going to work perfectly. But we're going to make some pilot holes here anyways, and I'm going to sink some 2.5-inch screws in. And then we'll put the brackets in. 2x2s are famous for wanting to split, so we're piloting to hopefully avoid that. You don't have to have 2 different drill drivers. It is convenient if you do happen to, though. I have this one because it's nice and compact, and when you're doing a lot of van build stuff and what have you, it can be a challenge because the bigger ones can actually be really hard to get into tight spaces. So that's why, literally why I have this one, is for the tight spaces. It does not have the torque that these Raighes do. Oh, that's the wrong bit. I had to change bits out. Yeah. That's from a square bit from when I was working on our door on the RV, on the travel trailer the other day, because it was falling apart, literally, and the glass was falling out of it. So we had to take it apart and fix that. All right, these are just construction screws because it's what I've got. I think they'll work okay. You could buy heavier screws or whatever, but we're going to give these a try. And if they break, I'll fix them. So. But I do like that they've got the torque spit head, which makes it much easier to sink stuff without stripping out those darn Phillips heads. Phillips was a big improvement over the slotted regular head ones in the day, but we've come beyond that too. So, and if you go up to Canada, I think the square bits are pretty popular. All right, it's together, at least on the top. Now we got more to go. We got to tackle the other side now. I'm going to do the ends, and then we'll fill in the middle with at least, I think we're going to use at least 2 cross pieces. But that's got us here, so let's see how, we'll double check that everything looks nice and square, and then we'll work on the other end. Oh, and I did not show it on video, but we did put construction adhesive in these joints as well. And like I said, we have brackets we're going to put in here. We're done. And then when it's all done, we're going to glue and screw plywood onto the face of it, which is also going to hold it all stiff together. So as long as we get the frame good and reasonably solid and square, the plywood is going to help hold it all together beyond that. I feel like there's a little bit of bow in these 2x2s, which is not surprising, but we'll get it all squared up. Some people like to use wood glue, some like to use construction adhesive, some use epoxy. I'm using construction adhesive because it's what I've got. And there's enough expenses in doing a build like this without making up trouble for yourself. So we're trying to be efficient with our resources. And we'll clamp this all down to make sure it's staying put good. Except for this is a little thicker than, this board's a little thicker than the plywood I was using over there apparently. I think because this is bowed a little bit, we're going to go ahead and set our screw in this one, and then we'll get this one positioned and screw that as well, because for now though I'll just hold this on here to keep things from moving around. Now we'll lock down this other one. And if we do end up just a little bit off, when we're all done, we have power saws, we have power sanders, we have a plane. So I mean, we can, you know, tweak things if we need to. If we find it's a little bit out of square, we'll fix it then. But for now, we'll go ahead and put it together. Make sure we're looking pretty good here. That looks pretty good. We're gonna draw this up a little bit as soon as we put the screw in. So, and we'll recheck everything. Pretty good there. All right. I'm making a mess playing in the glue. Now, there are better squares for this project, but that looks pretty darn good to me. I don't have one because I don't usually need one. Most of what I do, this one usually works fine for, and we're back to that thing of not wanting to spend a bunch of money on things that I'm going to use once. That actually looks really good, so I think we're in good shape there. Yep, nice and square. All right. I think we'll put some brackets, or the corner brackets on, the angle brackets. And these are going to be Phillips heads, so I got to change screwdriver bits. I feel like somebody's got a campfire going out there. Maybe getting a barbecue grill going or something, I don't know. I wasn't hungry, but it's making me hungry. Usually I've used smaller ones, but these were like the perfect size to fit in here. And I thought that would give it plenty of area to hold things tight. So that's what we're doing. I'm making a mess too, but you know, what else is new, right dear? She's used to it. I make a mess. Now we have been dealing with some aggravating weather, and today's going to be no exception, but we're working inside, so it's okay. So the weather has slowed me down on this part of the project, but also, frankly, I've been procrastinating a little bit because it was a little bit intimidating tackling this. I knew I had the skills to do it. I don't remember if I've ever tried to build a door before. I've built gates, but I'm not sure about a door. And I want this thing to work right. So I knew I could do it, but it was also a little bit intimidating. But I had a plan. It's been formulating in my head for a while. And I knew once I got going, I'd be able to do it. even though it was a little intimidating. So all that to say that if you got, whoops, it's in. If you got basic skills with some basic tools, and you've done a few projects, you're comfortable using some of these tools, you can figure out pretty much anything you want to figure out. It's especially these days with YouTube and other websites and things, man, you can always find a tutorial to give you some more information once you got the basic stuff down. So that's, I mean, you can accomplish a lot of stuff that you haven't specifically done. I think the rain's coming. Here comes the rain again. Yep, the rain's here. I guess I'm glad I set up inside. I only bought 4 of these bracket kits. I may actually get another couple to bracket some of the inside ones, but we'll see how it goes. I was thinking mostly of the top and the bottom. And we'll get this done, then we'll throw in some cross pieces here. This one's not attached yet. And we're gonna need some more supplies at some point, but we had enough to get going anyway. But I got a late start because I spent hours making that video from Custer State Park for y'all. So with all the critters we found there, it was awesome. So if you haven't seen that already, make sure you check that out. I think you'll find it worth watching. It's clocked in at like 45 minutes, but wow. We had a lot of great footage from out there, so that's just the way it was. We started out at like 1 hour and 20 minutes, so I cut off that much to make it easy to watch. I'm gonna actually try this on a smaller drill. I may be able to reach better, so we'll see if that helps. But I think the battery's getting worn out in this one and needs to be charged again, so it may not do it. But we'll see. Wow. That wind is something out there. There we go. As long as I can get this thing all built fairly square, the next trick is going to be hinging it and putting in a latch set so we can lock it, because we're using a real normal door latch, so we can like open it and lock it and unlock it from inside or outside. We just don't know which one yet, and we're debating whether to just do keyed or whether to use one of those keyless entry things, which are kind of cool. And at least at Menards they have some reasonably priced ones. It's looking like a door, ain't it? At least I think it's looking like a door. I don't know if anybody else does. I have a vision in my head, so I think it's looking like a door. How many of these do we want to put in there? That's the other thing, right? I know I'm going to do at least 2. I don't know if we want 2 or if we want 3. I'm thinking I might just do 3 because it'll make it stronger, you know? 71 and change, so we did 72, that would be 36 would be the middle, so it won't be quite exactly the middle, but close enough to the middle. Looking good, looking good. All right, this might be just about 1/16 of an inch too wide in the middle, so I'm gonna trim this down by about 1/16. So that's why it was fitting snug there. It was actually pushing it out just a little bit. So we don't want that. We want it as close to perfect as we can make it. And then it's going to swell with the weather and everything anyway. So and yes, there are some people who will take the time to smear the glue around. I usually don't, because I think it's going to get spread around just fine. Possible exception is like if I'm doing paneling or wallboard, I may spread it around a bit there. That might be best practice. So. Probably should have just bought more screws when I was at Home Depot last time. All right, there's 3. I think we're just gonna put 2 more in here. So we got lots of braces, lots of support, then we'll fill it in with foam insulation. We mark off where we want these, huh? But I gotta get this darn door on because the weather just rots around here. It may be better than the Pacific Northwest or something, but spring in Wyoming is iffy. And I don't want the floor to keep getting wet, so we gotta get this closed in and sealed up. So. I think we're gonna have a whole 2x4 extra, Melanie. I guess we'll find something to do with it, right? Before we're done here. Yeah, that's gonna work nicely. Look at that, huh? Goop it up a little bit. And I'm setting the glue on the top there, so when I push it down in, it'll spread. Now we'll smear this a little bit because this is a little bit snug, so. A little overkill, but you know. That looks pretty good. We'll square up the other side before we set that one in. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Only got 2 left. We're gonna run too short just for the door. I think we're gonna have to make a run to Home Depot on this fine Wyoming evening so we can get some more screws. I've got plywood over there we're going to use for the door skin, at least on one side. We'll figure it out still. And I don't know, did we buy screws for the, I can't remember if we bought screws to put the plywood on with. So I may need those too. Because did I mention I was a little bit procrastinating? So I knew when we were there last time I didn't have everything I needed, but I got enough to at least get started, and figured if I tried to figure everything out ahead of time, I'd just be too overwhelming, so better to at least get going. And I knew once they got going that it would come together. There we go, nice. So at some point, I'm gonna tell you that you too, I'll tell you with confidence that you too can build your own door for your RV or box truck build or whatever else. But I'm going to hold off till I actually successfully do it to say that with too much confidence. Looks like the sun's trying to come out. Well, oh, we got a rainbow. Come show them this, Melanie. It's sun's coming out, but it's black over here and there's a rainbow. Oops. In any event, it's going to be a much higher quality door than we would have got spending a lot of money on an RV door. So I'm happy with it. And this might be a good time for us to note, I think sometimes people think we're anti-RV or we hate RVs or whatever, and that's not really the case. We aren't impressed with a lot of the quality we see out of RVs, and we're not impressed with a lot of the designs, the builds, where you can't help but think whoever engineered the thing has never actually been out camping or let alone lived out of an RV or anything, because they're just poorly designed. And they're designed so they look good in the showroom is the issue. You know, oh, a double sink, awesome. Oh, a 3-burner gas stove, awesome. And they're just not functional a lot of times. And a lot of times the build quality is very poor, particularly in the last 5 years. That being said, there are some, usually the high-end ones, that are built pretty good and they can last a long time. But for our cases, we actually were looking for upgrading the van to something bigger, and we kind of were looking at 3 basic categories of vehicle. And we were looking at shuttle buses was probably number 3 on the list. And number 2 on the list was an RV, and number 1 on the list was a box truck. And one of the reasons box trucks were on the top of the list was because they're more, at least in our area, they're much more reasonably priced. You can buy a lot more quality of box truck than RV for the same amount of dollars. And the bonus with an RV is you get something that's built out already. But that's only a bonus if it actually meets your needs. And we couldn't find any for any price that were actually laid out in a way that was going to meet our needs that we weren't going to remodel anyways. And if you get into a lot of the older ones that are like competitive price-wise with a box truck, but again, not quality-wise, you end up where the interior's pretty well whipped. Sometimes not even pretty well, it's just 100% horribly whipped. And we were gonna have to gut it and remodel it anyways. But best case scenario, we were still gonna have to be doing some partial remodeling. So which pushed the box trucks to the top of our list. That being said, had we found a nice RV in good condition that appeared to be well built and that would have met our needs, we definitely would have done that and saved all the aggravation of building out a box truck. Although it is kind of fun doing your own build because you get exactly what you want, but there is a decision fatigue thing that goes with it, with so many things you have to decide on, and there's also just a challenge of the amount of time involved. But we're not anti-RVs. We just generally think they're not that great a quality or build design. I think I've gone as far as I can go without a run to Home Depot to get some more screws. I should have just got them when I was there. I wish I had some more screws. This is actually going pretty good. right, so I did last night run over to Home Depot and picked up some screws so I could finish up the front of the door. This is the exterior side of the door. So that's all set. This is a solid door between the 2x2 construction and the plywood on it. This is the inside, so I had to go back this morning and took the van over so I could get insulation. It's all glued in. We taped it down with this Flex Fix duct taping. It's not like duct tape that's not really for ducts. It's, it's actually designed for, preventing leaks and stuff. So I don't know how much difference it'll make, but it may help a little bit. So I figured it's worth a try. We went with 1.5 inch insulation because that's the thickest we could get through there into this space. And we did go with the cheaper styrofoam stuff, which is R5.9 rating, plus of course the plywood. They had some stuff that went up to R7.5, so you got a 1.6 gain in the R rating, but it was twice the cost. And I could not see any point in putting that just in the door and not putting it in the walls too. So by the time we look at the amount of insulation we're going to need in this truck, it was a pretty big difference for like a 1.6 difference in the R of the insulation. And again, we've already got on the walls, we've got heavy panels, and we've got plywood in the back and plywood on the door. So overall, that's it might be like a 5 or 10% difference, but for twice the cost. And at that point, I think things like sealing up drafts and things are going to be far more important than just getting a slight bump in gain in the R factor of the insulation. If you got the budget and you want to go with the pink foam or the blue foam that's got the slightly higher rating, I mean, I'm not going to tell you not to do it, but for us, we decided to put our money into other places where we think it'll matter more. So that's why we're doing that. I'm going to put some plywood on the back of the door here. I put lots of screws in the front. It's also glued down. I'll glue this too. I don't know how well the glue is going to stick to the tape here, but it will squirt out onto the sides with this wood too. But it'll all be screwed in as well anyways, and then we need to get it hung. We've got hinges we picked up today, and we still have to figure out what we're doing with a lock set, but it's going to be a traditional, conventional lock set. You can open and lock and unlock and open and close from inside or outside. We're not doing anything hokey with that. So I'll get the plywood on here, then we're going to get this in. We've got to get this darn thing in because we've been battling weather for a few weeks now. And when I started removing the door, the weather was supposed to be good for a week or more, and that's just not what has happened. So we need to get this thing buttoned up and sealed on the back end, and then we can go from there. We got some exciting projects. We got some things we do have planned as far as what's going into the truck here. And there's other things we're not sure exactly how we're doing it yet, but they'll be coming as they go. We got some ideas. It's just, there's about, no exaggeration, more than 1,000 decisions, maybe thousands of decisions to make, big and small, in a build project like this, and you can only think just so far ahead, and because everything you do impacts everything that follows. So we're getting some plywood on here and work on getting this thing hung on the door frame and see how it all works. See if we can piece it together without having to buy more plywood. I really don't want to have to go buy more. This stuff's quite a bit heavier, which is fine except for the weight. I'm trying not to add that much more weight to it. So I'm trying to keep the interior as light as possible because I went all out on the outside. So much to figure out still. Just not going to play nice. All right, so what we're doing here is we're piecing together some lightweight plywood on the inside. And the reason for that is that I didn't have as much plywood as I thought in this thinner stuff. And this thing's door is already heavy enough, so I think this is more than adequate for the inside rather than doing heavier stuff. And I don't want to have to go buy a whole other sheet of 4x8 plywood just for the inside of the door. And then Melanie reminded me I was planning on putting a window in anyways, so we're just going to work around that and leave room for a window. And that'll work just fine. One way or the other, it's going to work just fine. We want a window up high on the door so we can see out, let some light in, but also so we can see out before we open the door. But it should be high enough that nobody else is going to be able to easily see in. We'll be doing something with this door, like painting it or putting paneling on it or whatever. We're not even sure yet, but this won't be visible anyways, so it won't matter. That'll work for today because we just need to get this thing up. Before it rains again. Well, it fits, at least that way. Top to bottom fits, at least. Okay, maybe it's gonna work out all right. I think that's pretty squared up, other than maybe a little bit of trimming in a few places. All right, we got the door all set in place. These are just temporary braces that are on here to keep it from falling out the door hole. Because it would be awkward for like Melanie to be standing there beside of it trying to hold it in while I shim it and everything. You see there's some shims on the bottom here of the pry bar. We would use a little leverage to jack it up a little bit so we could adjust the shims, but I think we're pretty good. I'm gonna have to trim it just a little bit here, either the trim piece on the wall, actually that's bowed out a little, or the door. But anyways, we'll trim that after we get the hinges set. We're nicely gapped on this side. I'm sure you can't see it on the camera, but it's nicely gapped. We picked up some hardware hinges at Home Depot earlier. These are more like gate style, but there's a reason we did these. They're gonna go on like so. And the catch is, these are rated for 60 pounds per hinge. And this is a heavy door. I don't think it's even 60 pounds for the whole door, but I think it's probably 40 or 50 maybe for the door, maybe only 30, I don't know, it's hefty. So I want way more hinge support than we need, and we're gonna put 3 of them on, and that should hopefully hold it all right. It comes with like inch or inch and a quarter screws. I'm not sure what they are actually. I could check, and hopefully they're gonna be adequate to hold everything. Yeah, inch and a quarter, yep, good guess. If they're not, we'll remove them one at a time and drill it and through bolt it, and that'll fix the problem. But these are pretty hefty, and I think they're gonna work fine. So we'll get them lined up and start putting them on. Once they're on and all secured, we'll pull out the shims and make sure the door swings, and then I'll trim a little to make that fit nicely. Then we gotta go find a lock set, and then we gotta put stops and weather stripping around it on the outside. And eventually we're gonna put it, like I said, we're gonna put a window in here, and we're gonna put in, we'll do something with the interior to make it look a little prettier, but for now we're concerned with an insulated door that's solid and closes, and we can weather strip and keep the rain out and No offense to the grandkids, but keep the granddaughters out when we don't want them in here either, or when we don't know they're in here because we're all in at a Easter dinner get together with family and the kids are out here being kids. Gotta figure out exactly how we want to line these up too. But anyway, 60-pound hinges, they should take 180 pounds. We're nowhere near 180 pounds, obviously. So. Oh, and I don't think I mentioned it earlier. Somebody had mentioned in the comments that I should get a 1/4-inch impact driver. And I was like, yes, I think I maybe said earlier in this video, I definitely should. I went to Home Depot last night to get some screws, and lo and behold, they had them, obviously, on clearance. This only one on clearance, so it's half price, so save quite a bit of money. And yes, it is working great, but it uses the Ryobi batteries we've already got instead of the DeWalt's that I didn't have any more of when those died on me on the one I used to have. And it came with 2 more batteries. So I got for half price, 2 more batteries, another charger, and the impact driver, which is really amazing. It's kind of like an electric ratcheting thing. It sounds like your mechanic's air impact wrench, if you're familiar with those. But it doesn't strip out screw heads unless you get into screws into things a little harder, and it will save the motor in our drill driver too. So, all right, I'm going to figure out exactly how I want to set these and get them screwed in. That's the noise an impact wrench makes. And some people don't like these because of the noise, because they are noisier than just a drill driver, but they're pretty helpful tools for this sort of thing. One of my coming projects is to get a 1/2-inch impact wrench that's also cordless for working on vehicles, so I don't have to keep borrowing my son's, because we got to change wheels and stuff, the lug nuts, zip, 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 beats the heck out of wrecking your back, cranking on a tire iron with an extension on it. Yeah, we're just gonna have to trim it a little there. Otherwise, I think we'll be okay. Yeah, a little bit of rub on the floor there, even though it's right there. All of which is our plywood floor apparently isn't perfectly level, so go figure. So I may have to trim the bottom down and this top corner down a little. It works. I'd call that success. We're just gonna pop this 3/4-inch trim piece off and see if I can find something a little bit thinner to put on there. Lumber's never perfect anymore. It's always a little warped. Probably always was, but especially these days, everything's a little warped. We've had several days of rain, which have not helped anything. So there may be a little bit of swelling going on, which might account for why we're not quite there. It'll close on the bottom and the middle. It's just catching a little on the top. But our backside is perfect. So it's just, something's off just a little bit there. And it could be the door itself. If I'm off just a whisker on the door, I could plane this down. I don't have a power planer, but I could buzz it down with a saw or something. But I've got screws going through here into the cross pieces, the cross supports. So I don't want to be worrying about hitting them. So what we're going to do is just pop this off, the trim off, and see if we can find something a little bit smaller. I know this stud behind it's a little bit warped too, so we're going to be finishing it, you know. Obviously, I hope it's obvious, but it's not staying plywood and wood, but we'll be finishing it. But this is for now anyway. That's how we install a window, old New England barn style manner. trimming in the window for aesthetics and trying to cover up some rough spots there from when I cut it. It splintered the surface a little. This stuff likes to do that. But anyway, this is day 4 on what I'd hoped would be a 1-day project, but figured probably would be a 2-day project. So we're on day 4, and that's day 4 of working on it, not day 4 on the calendar. It's like day 7 or 8 on the calendar because weather in Wyoming, spring in Wyoming, that's what happens. So one more piece on here, and then we'll move on to something else. Actually, I think the next project's going to be putting the lock set on here, and then it's going to be, what is going on here? Oh, my metal got out of line a little bit. We'll fix that too. Every time you do one more thing, you mess something else up. Anyway, we'll get the lock set put on, and then I got to put some stops and weather stripping in to seal it up with the weather. Meanwhile, our entertainment here, we have the horse and the donkey out in the pasture. So I'm putting together the little kit here to bore out the holes for the lock, and I didn't have the right size hole saws, and it was literally the same price to get a whole kit as to just get the hole saws I needed. So I got the whole kit, so there's less chance of me screwing up the measurement by 1/8 of an inch or something, or 1/4 of an inch, and things not working. So we think this is where we want it. It's a little bit low on the inside, but it's also not too high on the outside. I can't shut the door all the way to show you because I have the thing on, but this just allows us to bore out for the lock, and then on the end we got a smaller hole saw that'll bore through there to open up the side, and then we should be able to install our lock. And for right now, for today, we're just putting a deadbolt lock on and some handles. We have handles that we picked up at Menards on clearance a little bit ago that look pretty cool. So here's our just a simple deadbolt lock. We're debating about the whole like a regular door latch still, if we want to do that or not. But this will look reasonably good on there, I guess. We may go with a keyless entry deal at some point, but for right now, that'll be fine, and it's a cheaper one because I can't even remember what we've all explained or showed on video because we're on day 4, but the plywood I put on the door was too thick initially, and I couldn't get a lock to fit. I think we might have talked about it at some point, so it's now got thinner 5mm on both sides, and that still puts us a little over the ideal size, and I barely got my little handy thingy here on, but we're making it work. So just if you're building a door, you may have to plane down your 2x2s or go with something thinner, just because. And you can see we just finished up to our metal this morning and put some nice trim on around the sides, and we think it looks good, and it's going to look good on the back of a box truck. It's going to look like it belongs. But for now, I'm going to drill this thing out, and we're going to see if we can get the lock installed, and then I'm going to go to town again and find some stops and everything too, so I can weather seal it all. So here goes nothing. This is a bimetal hole saw, so it should cut through the metal. Hopefully. May take a few tries. There we go. We're through. Look at that. All right. Now I just need to clean out the hole saw. We got 1.5 inches of insulation stuck in there, and we got some plywood and metal in there. The other side just fell down. And the door is a little bit squeaky right now because it's been raining for the last 2 days, so everything's swollen. So we may have to adjust that a little more, but we'll see what happens when it settles down. It's supposed to be up into the 70s today, but the weather people have been lying to us all year, so, you know, we're not holding our breath. It's also annoyingly windy today, but we're at least able to work inside here. Now, whenever I use a hole saw, it seems like 9 times out of 10, stuff gets stuck in here, and I have to excavate it. if you all have figured out a trick to do this, I don't use hole saws all that often as a thing. It's just not something I do a lot. Only once in a while. So if you got something figured out that makes this work better, let me know. Because I'd love a more convenient way of not having everything stick, if there is such a thing. There you go, Melanie. I got a coin for you.
Our next Christmas.
It's probably worth more than the pennies these days. I got some ideas to keep the door closed besides using the deadbolt. Well, the deadbolt will keep it really closed, but for those casual times. But for now, we're just doing the deadbolt. We'll expand from there. Right now, we're worried about just getting things going. Because this has already been 4 days on this darn, whatever you call it. We've been 4 days on the door, so I need to get on to some other things. I just put this in, but it's stuck in there tight now. There we go. Oops, I didn't see it there. That's the screw I drilled through the... I didn't even see it. I could have gone between them if I thought I missed them all. Or do I? But I have to reset that. Is that it? It's working. There we go. Just gonna put a latch plate in now. I think that's pretty good. So I guess we'll screw it in, huh? Try it out. It works.
It works.
Hey, look at that.
Can't get in there.
All right. Well, what do you know? So we just got to find stops and weather stripping. 4 days, no exaggeration. 4 pretty full work days, 6 to 8 hours. But we built a custom door that actually works. I mean, look at this, and it's legit hardware, right? That will not rattle once I put the stops on and the weather stripping. And the stops are just like you have in your house. They're going to go along here like so on the outside with about 1/8 of an inch gap around the door, and then the 1/8 inch gap we'll put weather stripping along, and that'll be that. But I have to go get some because I don't have enough materials here to do that. But that's how you do it, is you seal it up. It's a legit exterior door, just like on your house. So we're proud of that. It's got a regular, dead key, dead bolt. So that'll be, we may at some point add a handle, a locking handle. We're not sure because we kind of like the industrial look. It's a box truck. We've got business lettering on the front and it looks industrial. And I got a few places where, let's see. Oh, that's the one I cut off on accident. My bad. So we'll do something with that. This one broke off, so I got a couple of them. I was trying to put in other screws and they were just tripping out, or breaking off. So I got to fix a few things there. Otherwise, very minor things. The door is functional and we're going to call it good. We'll obviously be staining or painting or whatever. On the inside, we built in a window. I need to get another little more, trim there. But we built in a window. It's acrylic panel. It does not, so it won't break bouncing down the road. It does not open or anything, but we'll have opening windows on the sides. So I guess we can call that a win for this video. No lie, 4 days. It was crazy. I think this might be the worst single project on the entire box truck build in terms of just how tedious it was and how long it took. I think everything else will probably be faster, but we got to lock in, and we have somewhere around here, right over here, I think, if I can find them to show. Here we go. We have a couple of cool door handles that we picked up at Menards on clearance. So this one's got like, you know, some green on it. This one's like red. So one's going on the inside, one's going on the outside. I don't know which will be which yet, but they'll be, you know, somewhere where there's something to attach them to, I guess. Maybe even like that, actually. But anyway, we'll have door handles so that it's easier to close it from the outside, because right now you gotta like grab the window ledge, and from inside you can open it up without having to likewise grab the window ledge. So you'll have to tune back in for a future video if you want to see whether we put red or green inside and outside. But if you're enjoying this video, if you're just tuning in, we got a entire playlist we're putting together for this box truck build series. So be sure to check that out so you don't miss any of the episodes from this adventure of turning a cargo box truck into a tiny home on wheels, or a full-time camper van, whatever you want to call it. We're doing it. Key to your new home, Mrs. Witham.
Oh, thank you.